Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We are your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is the 17th of July, 2018. I know what year it is. It just really rolled off the tongue there. 7/17/17. Yeah, okay, but it's not. It's 2018, unless we're going back in.
And in 2018, we have extreme censorship. We are entering now into the twilight zone.
No, actually, this is a really good time to point out the fact that if it was 7/17/17, this video that we are about to do would be getting a few thousand views. There was an atrocious comment last night left on our Resistance Chicks channel on the Teen Vogue video that we did last year about Teen Vogue rolling out a magazine, laying out how wonderful anal sex is for little girls and how to do it safely. You remember this episode. It had like 3,000 views. All of our videos back then had at least 1,500 views or more, up in the 10,000s. And it was just, so I saw this comment come up, which was a terrible, terrible, terrible comment about Leah and I questioning our purity in the midst of that subject. I deleted it, and it wouldn't delete at first, by the way. But I'm glad that comment was left, because sometimes I just kind of scroll over, and I actually clicked on the video itself. And then I was able to see. So if we were going back in history, back in time, this video would be seen by everyone far and wide. But instead, you, our cherry-picked special viewers who love us and support us and are diehard fans that remained in the midst of all the censorship that is happening. And that rolls right into what is happening right now at the Senate hearing.
There is a judicial hearing right now on the censorship on Facebook, Twitter, Google. Google includes YouTube, conservative voices, anyone right of Stalin. Again, we keep talking about this over and over again. Chairman Mao. Listen, guys, we're plodding through. And I know that God had me listen to John Quincy Adams and the Gag Rule, and
yes.
Michelle read it over and over again to remind me why we do what we do. Okay, to set the captives free, which is what John Quincy Adams was literally in this country not allowed under House rules to talk about slavery. So he went around the censorship. Okay,
right.
He went around it. We're going to keep reminding you guys of this, because guess what? We don't have slavery in this country because that man didn't give up.
That's
and
right.
we are here and we ain't giving up. And Alex Jones isn't giving up. And Jack Posobiec isn't giving up. And Mike Adams isn't giving up. And Paul Joseph Watson isn't giving up. And Nigel Farage isn't giving up. And guess what, guys? Because we believe in what we are doing and what we are fighting for. The left just gets out there. They go with every wind of doctrine. It's very unbiblical. It's very unsound. But you know what? We have turned a corner and we are winning. And when they come out with the pitchforks and the devil horns, you know you can take them down. You guys, before Donald Trump, before this whole election,
they were all hiding.
everybody was sleeping, right? They are literally crawling. You know what? I'm just going to bring this up because this is them. All right. So our main thing that we're going to cover today is not necessarily censorship, but it all goes together. I am on fire today, okay? Because
this girl is on fire.
Because Donald Trump's press conference with Putin, I'm going to show you clips. You got something better to do. No, you don't. You need to sit down and watch the entire thing. But after you watch my show, right. Okay, I will tell you what to look for.
Whose show is it again?
My show. Okay, my show. We are one.
She just took the show. She just took the show.
Stop it. Okay, so before Trump even met with Putin, they were. I mean, obviously, this cartoonist had been working on this for a while. Now, if you got little babies in the room, just close their eyes, send them away for a second. I need you to know that here's the thing: Facebook right now, is having a judicial hearing on the censorship of fake news. Michelle just showed me a screenshot that Snopes is literally fact-checking the fact that a illegal Mexican or whatever Hispanic migrant beheaded a child and killed her grandmama.
I'm going to pull that picture up. It actually isn't that Snopes is... What's bothering me about this Hang on while I bring up our Facebook Live people. What's bothered me about this is the fact that Facebook is saying, listen, here is a contrary article, but they're not saying it that way. Like, here's one view and here's another view. They're pretty much saying that's fake news. Snopes is real news. You continue talking and I'm going to pull that picture
Or that news sounds so crazy. Here's a fact checker to let you know whether it's real or not.
Snopes is not a fact checker. They're a married couple that I think got divorced with cats.
The dude who started it divorced his wife and married a porn star. Okay, this is absolutely stinking ridiculous.
But it probably says that that's fake news.
No, it probably says that it's real, but when you see the Snopes there, it questions it right immediately.
Right.
It's a psychological thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here we have the failing New York Times has shared an intensely homophobic cartoon of President Donald Trump making out with Vladimir Putin. Get your children out the room right now. I'm going to play this for y'all. Y'all are adults.
Hang on, wait, I got this picture up. Let me switch it over just while we're on that same subject so you guys can see for yourselves. This is illegal immigrant beheads 13-year-old girl in Alabama, media blackout. Now, I think, didn't we cover that? Or was it a different beheading? Is this the one that we covered?
I don't know if we covered it. I told you about it.
But then underneath it says related articles, Snopes. Now, if it
get
stopped
a little
there,
blue
that's
fact
fine.
checker.
But since it gets a blue fact checker here, I got problems with that. I got real problems.
But it doesn't tell you fact check true right there. What shouldn't it do that? Little green, that's true.
Right.
Right?
Oh my gosh,
okay.
absolutely
So
ridiculous.
you're seeing behind me the most disgusting, despicable thing. This is from the New York Times. Why I said that was that the New York Times is one of these proven fact-check true people.
Right.
These are the people that you're supposed to trust.
Right.
Do you like Vladimir Putin's comments about you?
Sure. When people call you brilliant, it's always good, especially when the person heads up Russia.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it also, he kills journalists that don't agree with him.
Well, I think our country does plenty of killing also, Joe. So.
They got 20 people working on this thing at the New York Times.
Wow.
It actually started off worse. Trump
I know
writes,
words. I have the best words.
Do you have a relationship with Vladimir Putin?
I do have a relationship with him.
Who's ever the artist,
And
they
I
obviously
think,
5 years old, they're
he's
using
done
child
a very
porn.
brilliant and amazing job. He's put himself really as, you know, a lot of people would say he's put himself at the forefront of the world as a leader. Russia is like, I mean, they're really hot stuff.
Bring your babies back. Don't replay this for them, please. That is from the New York Times. Tweeted out. Still available. It's not taken down.
Wow.
That is one of the most disgusting, vile, and perverted things I have ever seen. Not to mention, it is homophobic. Because it is saying that there is something wrong with homophobia.
That's
a
exactly.
homosexual relationship with Vladimir Putin.
See,
I
was an LGBT person.
love.
I would take offense at this cartoon.
But they don't, because actually, in a funny way, they like it. But I gotta tell you, right now, Facebook is having this hearing, and I watched a little bit of it, and I turned it off. I turned it off when some Democrat went on there, and instead of questioning Facebook and Google, went on a soliloquy about Donald Trump being a traitor to our country. You've got ex-CIA director John Brennan tweeting out that Trump's meeting with Donald Trump yesterday
With Vladimir Putin. That guy.
reached high crimes, treasonous. He wants him impeached, and actually, the real punishment for treason is death. So John Brennan and other Democrats are really calling for his death. Now, speaking of the left, unhinged, calling for Trump's death. The censors who will not let us speak truth. allow homophobic Donald Trump craziness. Now, do you think for one moment they would allow a Barack Obama unicorn, you know what, a homophobic thing going across or something like that? Do you not think the left would just go crazy if Fox News put that out? What if Fox News did that with like Hugo Chavez or something?
They would lose their minds. But speaking of comparing what they allowed Donald Trump to do, I said to Leah yesterday after the meeting with Putin,
right now
she says, did you see she said, did you see parts of the thing? I said, I watched it live. She was not there watching. I don't know what she was doing, but she was not watching it live.
Later.
But I said, what really gets me about all of this, sorry, my Grandma Marilyn is calling me.
Grandma, not now.
Is that if Trump were to have had the same meeting with Erdogan from Turkey, right? They would and talking peace and saying, you know what, we want to get good relations.
I didn't see them all up in arms when China came. China's taking. They did that bodies exhibit. You remember the bodies exhibit? Those were prisoners of conscience, and they stole their organs and they stole their bodies and they put them on display for money. They take women's uteruses out of their bodies. They take 9-month-old babies and they suck their brains out. Okay, they have right now. China has people on lockdown. We got a Chinese friend.
Their mic is right
I'm
here.
sorry. We have a Chinese friend I've been trying to get a hold of. I love this dude. His name is Chi. He came to visit us. He is like red pilled. I love this dude. He's back in China because he couldn't get a job here in the U.S. He was over here trying to get another job. What he does, he keeps trying to travel, right? He can get a travel visa with China as long as he's working somewhere around the world, right? So he's back in China. Somehow he got through to me because he's like, sorry, I haven't been able to keep up on Facebook. Facebook is banned in China. Facebook ain't banned in Russia. They using it. They using Facebook. That's what this all about, baby. They're using Facebook. RT was putting things out on Facebook pro-Trump. And sometimes it was like pro-Black Lives Matter, anti-Black Lives Matter for clicks. Yes. Why? It makes money, baby. They're making the dime. They ain't stupid. Come on. RT is now, they were supposed to be foaming division, right? And actually, I got to tell you, I've seen the people on RT. Some of them are crazy lefties, communists. Some of them are really right-wing people. You got Steven Seagal's a Russian citizen now speaking out. It's hilarious. RT's hilarious.
He's red-pilled, by the way.
And when the 2016 election was coming around, they were the ones putting forth WikiLeaks stuff, anti-Hillary stuff, and they were pro-Trump. Crossfire is called Crossfire. I like that little guy with a bow tie. He's an American. He might lean communist. I don't know. But he was anti-Clinton. He was pro-Donald Trump, and I liked it, okay? And their mind was a lot like us. So all of a sudden, everybody's watching RT, and then they had to shut RT down, right? Here's the thing.
When you go to any YouTube RT video, it will say RT is funded in whole or in part by the Russian government.
We got things funded by our government. What do you think PBS
Does it say that on PBS?
The PBS Hour, partly funded by your government. I have listened to that PBS Hour, and I listened to NPR radio. NPR radio. I got to tell you, there is nothing more left than NPR radio. All right. Portland Gallery puts graphic depiction of President Trump being beheaded on public display. One Grand Gallery in Portland is facing online backlash after they put an image of President Donald Trump being brutally assassinated in their store window. A violent graphic is now in public view, which says, F Trump. Now, imagine for one moment that this was in a prominent gallery, and that was Obama with his nose bleeding and his head up. And that is actually somebody desiring somebody to go and kill him. This isn't like this is promotion of violence, and this kind of stuff is not actually permitted under the Constitution, because you're not allowed to make threats of bodily harm and killing against a sitting president.
Right.
This is illegal.
Right.
Okay, you can say F Trump. You can say impeach Trump, but you cannot say assassinate a president. This person needs to be locked up and put in jail.
Absolutely need
because
to be locked
they have
up.
a desire to see this happen.
But this is a printed, it looks like to me, this is a print. So somebody actually had to not only design it, but then print it off. And how many more of them are there?
Exactly. Here's the thing, you guys. You do not, and I don't care if it's Barack Obama, I don't care if it's Hillary Clinton. You don't get to want to assassinate a president. You don't get to write and draw images of assassinating a president. Okay? That is where your free speech ends when you are promoting killing a sitting president. And there you got Facebook right now trying to cover us up for just calling out all the crimes, saying that we're these violent people. They're putting us in that camp. They're talking about Alex Jones and Sandy Hook. You guys, Sandy Hook was cray-cray. Those people acted cray-cray. I even was on a conspiracy theory with cray-cray. They hammered InfoWars today on David Hogg for calling out him as a child actor. All these kids were part of the drama club.
Right.
And you could tell he was acting, and he is being used as a pawn for this resistance. They stole our name, by the way. We're the real resistance, okay? I don't know. They're AstroTurf. Grassroots AstroTurf. They're using David Pawn and these kids who are trying to take away your Second Amendment. Fair game, child. Fair game.
So Justin Hughes tells me that Trump is going to speak about the meeting with Putin at 2 o'clock our time, which is in an hour.
Well, I have some clips. I do know that Tucker Carlson interviewed him, and he's going to be on.
Tucker interviewed the president?
That's what he says. We interviewed him. And Hannity interviewed him. I got a clip from Hannity.
Fantastic.
So this is from Mike Adams. Decentralization and the structure of news consumption. The censorship master plan decoded. The blueprint for how tech giants covertly silence online speech and how America can fight back against corporate tech monopolists. To fully grasp how news censorship is achieved, it's crucial to understand the ways in which news consumers come into contact with news sources and information. The method of contact determines the most effective method of censorship. Direct URLs and apps. This is achieved when users open a web browser and directly enter a URL they wish, like Trump News. This approach is decentralized and puts consumers in control. However, many news consumers are surprisingly lazy, and some don't even know the internet exists outside of Facebook. Accordingly, many internet users rely on other aggregators or feeders to feed them news articles. Direct access can also be achieved by download apps. So you've got what it means by I can still get the news I want because I go to Gateway Pundit, I go to Daily Caller, I go to The Drudge, I go to Zero Hedge, I go to InfoWars, and I can grab the articles and things that I want. However, most people scroll through their Facebook feed, as in 2016,
right.
I was getting a majority, I was kind of shocked at that point, of just pages. And I wasn't getting a lot of people, which was fine because I wanted it and we're all sharing this information.
Right.
Now I get the same 25 people in my feed. My Facebook is boring. I'm sorry, your baby's cute, but I don't want to see it every single time I open up my Facebook page. I actually do like these pages because I want to see their articles shared. And very rarely do I see their articles shared. And sometimes I only see their articles shared because they boosted them with money. Okay, so then you have these news aggregators like The Drudge, Google News, Censored, owned by its author and others. News aggregators serve as a utility function of compiling news headlines from many different sources, potentially saving time for news customers. However, when some news aggregators are entirely uncensored and pull every headline from the sources which are scanned, such as censored news, most news aggregators make either manual or human-programmed automated editorial decisions, compiling a list of desired headlines to show visitors like The Drudge ever. You've got the news feeds. We talk about Facebook as the best examples of a news feed, which presents content, videos, links for end-user consumption, but controls the feed to downrank and shadow ban certain sources, which are targeted with punitive ranking algorithms. Hello! I'm going to raise my hand because we've been downgraded, baby. We were actually, I would have to say, until I banned about 10 pro-Palestinian people that were anti-Israel, totally anti-Semitic, and were bashing us personally, we actually were beating that algorithm to a good extent.
Right.
As soon as I banned those people, our
And that's just on
viewership went
Facebook,
down.
though.
I
That's
think
just
we
on
got
Facebook.
reported or something because I banned them. They got angry
Right.
and reported us on Facebook. That's my theory. But something crazy happened there on Facebook. I was actually getting people on Twitter. Like I had the same amount of people I've had for about a year.
So why do we talk about this? Are we talking about it because, we just want you guys to know that, we're being censored and that's why? No. It has everything to do with the fact that they are trying to shut up a voice that is changing the world. Not our voice, your voice, the voice of the sane, red-pilled people.
Right.
We are making changes utilizing their weapon technology against them. Like Frankenstein, they created a monster that they didn't intend to create, and now it's biting them in the butt, and they're trying to do something about it, but they will fail.
All right. So do you want to see the crazy, how people were crazed first and then see how it wasn't crazy? Or do you want to see how it wasn't crazy and then see the crazy reaction?
To Putin and Trump meeting together.
What do you want to see first? Their reaction or the actual display?
Why don't we see the actual display first?
All right. We're going to start with this.
Is only the beginning of a longer process, but we have taken the first steps toward a brighter future, and one with a strong dialogue and a lot of thought. Our expectations are grounded in realism, but our hopes are grounded in America's desire for friendship, cooperation, and peace. And I think I can speak on behalf of Russia when I say that also. President Putin, I want to thank you again for joining me for these important discussions and for advancing open dialogue between Russia and the United States. Our meeting carries on a long tradition of diplomacy between Russia, the United States, for the greater good of all. And this was a very constructive day. This was a very constructive few hours that we spent together. It's in the interest of both of our countries to continue our conversation, and we have agreed to do so. I'm sure we'll be meeting again in the future, often, and hopefully we will solve every one of the problems that we discussed today. So, again, President Putin, thank you very much.
All right, so remember this. I got a clip here. I'm going to see if I can find him with Putin actually had said that he wanted Obama to win because he felt like it would be easier to get along well with him than Romney. But I didn't see the world going crazy. This is a little montage with Anderson Cooper. He said, all the left-wing media is going crazy about Donald Trump right now. So the question is, did they go crazy with Barack Obama having normal relations? And remember, he's caught on that hot mic saying, tell Vladimir we can have better relations after I'm re-elected. Do you remember that? I remember that. Okay, so I'm going to start by playing a couple of these clips. I think I'm going to start over here.
It was absolutely fantastic. It started off a little bit slow, but the second half to the end, you could tell that Trump kind of got into his groove, and the questions that were okay. So you're going to meet with one of the biggest world leaders, Russia, right? And there's a lot to talk about. They did talk about Syria a little bit, but there are many, many topics to talk about. And yet almost every single reporter that got up to ask a question, it was, what about Russia and Russian collusion? And you could tell that Trump at one point was just like, this is ridiculous. And then he calls out Peter Strzok and the hearing. I mean, it was just so great. You could tell that the more that they peppered him, like, let's just talk about this one thing, he just kind of became unhinged himself.
It was absolutely fantastic. And I'm going to tell you, after watching that Strzok interview, and Bombard's body language did do a breakdown of that, so check that out. It was very interesting.
Oh, wonderful. I haven't seen it.
Yep, I was stretching yesterday watching the Bombard's body language lately. Break him down. But here's the thing. I just want to break this down for you. What you had starting before Donald Trump was candidate Trump, you had Peter Strzok and Lisa Page texting back and forth saying, Donald Trump has to win. We've been over this. We think that Strzok was using Page as an asset.
Hillary Clinton has to win.
Hillary Clinton has to win. I'm sorry. And
that's your brain going Donald Trump
to get Hillary Clinton elected. Now, at that point, the reason he was using her because she was a lawyer on the case who could manipulate the investigation into Hillary's email server. Remember, it was she and he that worked together to change that wording so that Hillary would not be indicted. She should be in prison. If we had a different set of FBI agents, she would be in orange right now in handcuffs, okay?
They're also not that intelligent, though, these two. Because all of these things that they said, you wouldn't use a work phone because it could be found out later. Secondly, if you sleeping with them, you can't, like, talk about this stuff like pillow talk. I mean, hey, let's stop Trump. Isn't that really exciting? Why were these things needing to be discussed via text message unless, like you said, Strzok was trying to constantly? So not only would he be saying these things when he was with her, but he would when he was away from her as a mastermind to brainwash her.
Every decision. We have to let.
He has
to
to
Hillary
keep
off.
sending this to her.
Right. Now, remember, he was the one who got the dossier. There's 3 different dossiers, by the way. The BuzzFeed, the Fusion GPS Corn, and the McCain version. He got the one from Bruce Orr. He has a wife named Nellie Orr who worked for the Simpson Coy, whatever, how you say that organization that was funded by the DNC and the Hillary campaign. Remember, the DNC was bankrupt, which is why it had to allow Hillary to control the nomination process because she funded it, okay? The DNC is still broke. No one is giving them any money, all right? Nobody is helping them. So that's why they're thinking about running her again to use that, all this fake money that's been given to them from all these places to help fund her run again. But what I'm getting to is that the insurance policy that he texted Lisa Page. Now, she came out, and just today, we had a congressman who said that in the questioning of her, Strzok had said those texts don't mean what they appear to mean. And Lisa Page says, yes, they do. Yes, they do. She's a much more cooperative witness, which actually goes to prove that I am 100% correct.
That Strzok was
using her as an
manipulating
asset.
her and getting her to do something. And I think now she's kind of resenting it. I think her eyes have been open to the fact that, listen, if I don't tell the truth about this and come clean, I'm going down with this guy. And he's the one that pulled me into this situation.
Right.
Now, I know we've gotten off on a rabbit trail here, but while we are on this rabbit trail, it's worth noting that the
We're actually not on a rabbit trail.
The latest text messages. Well, we were talking about Trump, and
That's what I'm getting to.
I want you to tell them about the latest text messages that have come forth about Lisa Page and her coming out having said that the text itself says, we are going to coordinate with the White House.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, we are coordinating with the White House.
Right.
And because this was like, I think, October 16th, right? Where this text message it was sent. So that means that they already had to know and be in communications with the White House about the dossier before the investigation had really gotten started into the Trump-Russia probe. She comes and says in a text message, we are going to coordinate with the White House.
On timing and wording, we need to speak with one voice. White House, DOJ, FBI. So when you see the excerpts coming out saying the same thing, whether it was Fox News, they were leaking into Fox News, I heard about.
Right.
I remember pundits saying that.
How many times have we heard that the White House knew nothing, they were not involved, they had nothing to do with the dossier or Trump-Russia?
Obama was interviewed and he said he didn't know.
You guys, when it's the White House, the president knows. There were not people within the Obama White House that were doing things behind his back that he did not know about, okay? I mean, on this kind of scale. Right. He knew. He totally knew.
Okay, listen to this.
Differences in their testimony. On many cases, she admits that the text messages mean exactly what they say, as opposed to Agent Strzok who thinks that we've all misinterpreted his own words on any text message that might be negative.
So why I brought that up was because when we're talking about Donald Trump, his whole press conference, it keeps getting hammered, and he asks later, I'm going to show you about the DNC servers. Peter Strzok, Andy McCabe, I want to believe that the path you've laid out or whatever is not going to happen, that Donald Trump could be president, but it's like an insurance policy when you're 40, okay? We're going to make sure that Donald Trump is not president. And then when he gets when he becomes candidate president, Lisa Page,
President-elect.
Candidate Trump, when he was just candidate Trump,
Before the election.
Yes.
Okay.
She says, Trump's not going to become president, is he? And he says, no, we're not going to let that happen. In his testimony, he says, oh, it was just the American people. No. What Radcliffe was saying, that she's saying, no, it meant we're not going to let that happen. The insurance policy that came out, he dropped the ball on the Anthony Weiner laptop thing. And then he prioritized the Russian collusion, where he got this phony dossier. That is why this is so important. Okay.
All right,
now, carry on.
But we have lots of sources now, and the United States is much different than it was a number of years ago when we weren't able to extract what we can extract today. So today we're number one in the world.
There we go. They're talking about oil.
Neither of us economic entities dispute will be settled in the Stockholm Arbitration Court.
This goes to Jeff Mason from Reuters.
Thank you. Mr. President, you tweeted this morning that it's U.S. foolishness, stupidity, and the Mueller probe that is responsible for the decline in U.S. relations with Russia. Do you hold Russia at all accountable for anything in particular? And if so, what would you consider them that they are responsible for?
Yes, I do. I hold both countries responsible. I think that the United States has been foolish. I think we've all been foolish. We should have had this dialogue a long time ago, a long time, frankly, before I got to office. And I think we're all to blame. I think that the United States now has stepped forward along with Russia, and we're getting together, and we have a chance to do some great things, whether it's nuclear proliferation in terms of stopping. We have to do it. Ultimately, that's probably the most important thing that we can be working on. But I do feel that we have both made some mistakes. I think that the probe is a disaster for our country. I think it's kept us apart. It's kept us separated. There was no collusion at all. Everybody knows it. People are being brought out to the fore. So far that I know, virtually none of it related to the campaign. And they're going to have to try really hard to find somebody that did relate to the campaign. That was a clean campaign. I beat Hillary Clinton easily. And frankly, we beat her. And I'm not even saying from the standpoint, we won that race. And it's a shame that there can even be a little bit of a cloud over it. People know that, people understand it, but the main thing, and we discussed this also, is zero collusion. And it has had a negative impact upon the relationship of the two largest nuclear powers in the world. We have 90% of nuclear power between the two countries. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous what's going on with
Hillary Clinton. If you remember in the debates, she's like, I need Putin to know I have this nuclear weapon, and our nuclear response time is blah, blah, blah. Remember, 7 countries in 5 years. Syria and Iran are next. So be wary of the Iran hawks right now trying to overthrow the regime. At the same time, I'm not one of those people. Listen, with My Stealthy Freedom and the women dancing in the streets, I'm going to get behind that 100%. Even if it is like, I don't care if it's USA, whatever. It's not the same as trying to fund a regime change with Islamic rebels in Syria. Okay? I'm not for the people in the streets in Iran who go around saying death to Palestine, even though I'm not a fan of Palestine, because anybody who's saying death to anyone is not my friend, because they can easily turn on me. They are insane. Okay? So, but the women who are just trying to not wear their hijabs and have more freedoms, I'm going to be behind them.
Right.
But Syria had to go down. Now, there's a lot going on in Syria. A lot of it has to do with oil pipelines, and some of it has to do with the Chinese Silk Road that is supposed to go through Syria and Iran. Now, I don't know if I am. I'm not exactly a proponent of this Chinese to Russian kind of Silk Road that's supposed to open up Chinese goods to Europe on an easier route.
Right.
I'm not a big fan because I don't like China. I can tell you that here's the thing. Rand Paul said, and you're going to watch an interview with Tucker Carlson, but the punchline is this. Why is it that we're supposed to have worse relations in a post-communist Russia than we were in a pre-communist Russia? And why is it we're supposed to have better relationships with Saudi Arabia, who literally chops people's heads off, and communist China, who puts numbers on people and won't let them travel based on their...
And they still have slave labor.
And they still have slave labor. So the world is not exactly sane on this for a reason. And the reason being is that Russia is no longer playing according to the deep state game.
Right.
Russia is not... I'm not saying that it's perfect. Absolutely not. There are oligarchs in Russia. Vladimir Putin has done his own cray-cray things. But nothing more or nothing different than our country. Okay?
So before you press play, but per this audio clip, because I don't know how much or what all Leah's going to play here, but so before I forget, you just heard Trump say that there was absolutely zero Russian collusion. He said there was no one to collude with. Later on, we have, and I'm sure it was from some, mainstream media, whatever, outlet, asks a question, but it was more like a statement, and he calls President Trump a liar without actually saying "you liar." He pretty much says you just lied, because there were all of these intelligence agencies that found that it was Russia. Putin comes out later and he says the absolute truth. He calls out George Soros, actually, which I love. He's like, you have all of these people out there that are interfering with elections all over the world, such as George Soros, but they are independent people, okay? And you would not say that Hungary was interfering with elections all over the world just because George Soros is Hungarian. There are Russian people, and it is linked to Russia, okay, because they are Russian. There are American people that are interfering in elections. The American government interferes just flat out, okay? And that's totally fine. But that aside, you need to understand the difference between collusion. They are accusing the Trump administration of colluding with the Russian government to get Donald Trump elected. Trump and the Russian government had nothing to do with it, okay? They asked President Putin, did you want Trump to win? And he was like, yeah, I wanted Trump to win.
Because he wanted good relations with Russia.
Why is that a question? I want you guys to understand, when they spin it to make it seem like Trump's a liar and they state it like a fact, well, all of these intelligence agencies have come out and said that it's Russia, you liar, Mr. President. And then I'm glad that Vladimir Putin called it out, but unfortunately, because he doesn't speak English and there's a translator, it doesn't come out with the same power as it would have if Donald Trump had said there's a difference between collusion and the fact that there were just Russian people who had an opinion that then interfered. It is totally different.
The probe.
For President Putin, if I could follow up as well, why should Americans and why should President Trump believe your statement that Russia did not intervene in the 2016 election, given the evidence that U.S. intelligence agencies have provided? And will you consider extraditing the 12 Russian officials that were indicted last week by a U.S. grand jury?
Well, I'm going to let the president answer the second part of that question. But as you know, the whole concept of that came up perhaps a little bit before, but it came out as a reason why the Democrats lost an election, which frankly, they should have been able to win, because the Electoral College is much more advantageous for Democrats, as you know, than it is to Republicans. We won the Electoral College by a lot, 306 to 223, I believe. And that was a well-fought battle. We did a great job. And frankly, I'm going to let the president speak to the second part of your question. But just to say it one time again, and I say it all the time, there was no collusion. I didn't know the president. There was nobody to collude with. There was no collusion with the campaign. And every time you hear all of these, 12 and 14, it's stuff that has nothing to do, and frankly, they admit, these are not people involved in the campaign. But to the average reader out there, they're saying, well, maybe it doesn't. And even the people involved, some perhaps told mis-stories, although in one case the FBI said there was no lie. There was no lie. Somebody else said there was. We ran a brilliant campaign, and that's why I'm president. Thank you.
That's why I'm president.
This is a perfect example. The best defense is a very good offense. Okay? Did you notice that Donald Trump, when he does, because they hammer and they hammer and they hammer him, he hammers them back with positive. Right. That is the best negotiating tactic that you can do, because it literally neutralizes the acid that they're throwing.
And it puts you on the offense instead of the defense, because if you're on the defense, they're going to keep coming at you, and it's very difficult.
We ran a brilliant campaign. We won this election. You're trying to take it from us. You have one unhinged left guy who's like, look at that. He's colluding with Donald Trump. We should just impeach him now and put Hillary in as president. Oh my God.
Who is to be believed and who's not to be believed. You can trust no one if you take this. Where did you get this idea that President Trump trusts me or I trust him? He defends the interest of the United States of America, and I do defend the interest of the Russian Federation. We do have interests that are common. We are looking for points of contact.
We're looking for points of contact.
Vladimir Putin was so sane in this entire thing. This is what you do as a sane person. I'm putting Russia first. Donald Trump is putting America first. There is a gas line, and it's more of a business thing that the United States wants to supply Europe with gas, right. And Russia wants to supply Europe with gas. And Donald Trump even says they're more of a economic battle here, and Donald Trump says, I want you to put your country first. Let's battle it out. Yeah. Let's make this happen. You make Russia great, we'll make America great. It's going to be huge.
Our postures diverge, and we are looking for ways to reconcile our differences, how to make our effort more meaningful. We should not proceed from the immediate political interests that guide certain political powers in our countries. We should be guided by fact.
Hashtag elephant in the room. Russia is now a Christian country. They have gone away from communism. They've gone away from totalitarian government-owned businesses. Where in this speech, he says, we want to encourage entrepreneurs. I have seen him encourage entrepreneurs. Right. He's actually allowing American farmers to come over there and farm and become an entrepreneur. And Americans are actually leaving. There are people, he's calling for people to come and farm there. He's calling for people to come and start their own businesses there. He's actually kind of helping some of these people start businesses. That is like the diabolical, total opposite against what communism is, collectivism.
Well, not just communism, but excuse me, socialism. What we see in Europe, it's difficult. From what I understand, you guys that are over there can correct me on this, but here to become an entrepreneur, it is very easy. Very comparatively easy. It should be easier, but my point is it's frowned upon. It's not something that they want you to do because they want you always hooked into the hive mind. They want you always dependent upon the system. Horatio said something really interesting here in the chat.
Horatio's here again.
Trump has spent the last 3 years saying Washington is corrupt and they need to drain the swamp. So I don't see what he said as being odd. Brazen, yes, but not odd. It's exactly who he said he was. We elected him for it.
No.
Could you name a single fact that would definitively prove the collusion? This is utter nonsense. Just like the president recently mentioned. Yes, the public at large in the United States had a certain perceived opinion of the candidates during the campaign, but there's nothing particularly extraordinary about it. That's the usual thing.
Why is that extraordinary?
President Trump, when he was a candidate, he mentioned the need to restore the Russia-US relationship, and it's clear that a certain part of American society felt sympathetic about it, and different people could express their sympathy in different ways. But isn't that natural? Isn't it natural to be sympathetic towards a person who is willing to restore the relationship with our country, who wants to work with us?
For Trump
We heard the accusations about the Concord country. Well, as far as I know, this company hired American lawyers, and the accusations don't have a...
Mueller's indictments, these 12 people, they're not going to hold any water, which is actually hilarious because later on Putin's like, let's make it happen, baby.
No, I love what he says.
Put up or shut up. Okay, because one company, he was just talking about that one company hired American lawyers to get their name cleared because they're like, their Russian mom would be like, you indicted by the U.S. government. What did you do, baby? What did you do? Actually, Russia would be like, what? Give me a Russian accent. What did you do? What did you do to the Americans? I need to know now. We're putting you on the Stalag. All right.
That's German.
I don't care. We're taking you out to Siberia. We're going to Siberia. All right, forget it. Okay. So, anyways,
no, but didn't
this
you
company?
kind of
Wait, this particular company hired an American lawyer. They had to drop the indictment against this company because that company didn't exist. It didn't exist at the time. Like, it was created afterwards. So, like, how am I supposed to take anything you do seriously?
I don't know that you just explained that very well to people.
The company that they indicted did not exist at the time that the indictment says they would have been interfering in the election.
Right.
It doesn't get much clearer than that. How can you indict a ham sandwich? They will indict a ham sandwich. If you have literally spent $1 million and you can't find out they will
indict a ham sandwich because it goes against Islam.
When was this company that we're indicting started? It just goes to show you that they didn't expect anybody to fight back on these indictments.
Am I the only one that loved, and if you guys didn't see it, when Vladimir Putin was like, listen, we will put the people and we will investigate the people and your people can be in there for the investigation. And then, as long as you go and do your investigation and let our guys in,
we are going to get to another little bombshell. Somebody who gave Clinton campaign $400 million from Russia, and he's like, "How about we investigate that person?
How about
it?" Doesn't have a fighting chance in the American courts. So there's no evidence when it comes to the actual facts. So we have to be guided by facts and not by rumors. Now let's get back to the issue of these 12 alleged intelligence officers of Russia. I don't know the full extent of the situation, but the President Trump mentioned this issue, and I will look into it. So far, I can say the following.
Ready for this?
Things that, off the top of my head, we have an existing agreement between the United States of America and the Russian Federation, an existing treaty that dates back to 1999, the mutual assistance on criminal cases. This treaty is in full effect. It works quite efficiently. On average, we initiate about 150 criminal cases upon request from foreign states. For instance, the last year, there was one extradition case upon the request sent by the United States. So this treaty has specific legal procedures. We can offer that the appropriate commission headed by Special Attorney Mueller, he can use this treaty as a solid foundation and send an official request to us.
Put it up or shut it up.
So that we would interrogate.
Here it comes.
We would hold a questioning of these individuals who he believes are privy to some crimes. And our law enforcement are perfectly able to do this questioning and send the appropriate materials to the United States. Moreover, we can meet you halfway. We can make another step.
I love it. Watch this.
We can actually permit official representatives of the United States, including the members of this very commission headed by Mr. Mueller. We can let them into the country and they will be present at this questioning. But in this case, there's another condition.
Another condition.
Kind of effort should be a mutual one.
Mutual.
Then we would expect that the Americans would reciprocate and they would question officials, including the officers of law enforcement and intelligence services of the United States, whom we believe who have something to do with illegal actions on the territory of Russia. And we have to request the presence of our law enforcement.
Well,
for instance, we can bring up Mr. Browder in this particular case. Business associates of Mr. Browder have earned over $1.5 billion in Russia. They never paid any taxes, neither in Russia nor in the United States, and yet the money escaped the country. They were transferred to the United States. They sent huge amount of money, $400 million, as a contribution to the campaign of Hillary Clinton.
Boom.
Well, that's their personal case. It might have been legal, the contribution itself, but the way the money was earned was illegal. So we have a solid reason to believe that some intelligence officers accompanied and guided these transactions. So we have an interest of questioning them.
Come around this way. No.
We can that could be a first step, and we can also extend it. Options abound, and they all can be found in an appropriate legal framework.
Pause that. Options abound, and they can all be found in an appropriate legal framework.
But Mueller doesn't want to go through any appropriate legal framework.
Mueller doesn't want to have the Russians interrogate these people. He doesn't want to just be present, and he doesn't want the Russian people involved in his investigation. But guess what? Mueller isn't investigating the $400 million.
No.
That was sent from Russia to Hillary Clinton's campaign when there were no taxes paid on it to either the Russian government or the U.S. government. So I would like to know where that $400 million came from and how it was earned and why there were no taxes paid on it.
I do too.
And did you direct any of your officials to help him do that?
Да, я хотел, чтобы он выиграл. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Because he talked about bringing the U.S.-Russia relationship back to normal.
Продолжаем. Я думаю, вполне вопроса 3 может задать
He says, did you direct any of your officials to promote Donald Trump as president?
кто-то из российского пула.
I think there can be 3 questions from the Russian pool. Russia Today, you have the floor.
Here, I'm going to skip. I think you did talk
Also
about
is
Syria
helping
here.
Israel.
I have another clip lined up for you here where we go to this one.
Today I discussed this with French President Mr. Macron, and we reached an agreement that together with European countries, including France, we will step up this effort. On our behalf, we provide military cargo aircraft to deliver the humanitarian
Talking about Syria
cargo.
here.
And today I
We're gonna
brought
work
up
together.
this issue with President Trump. I think there is plenty of things to look into. The crucial thing here is that a huge amount of refugees are in Turkey, in Lebanon, in Jordan, in the states that border adjacent to Syria. If we help them, the migratory pressure upon the European states will be decreased manifold. And I believe it's crucial from any point of view, from humanitarian point of view, from the point of view of helping people, helping the refugees. And in general, I agree, I concur with President Trump. Our military cooperate quite successfully together. They do get along.
President Trump said, you know what, our militaries get along better in Syria than we are politically.
And I hope they will be able to do so in future. And we will keep working in the Astana format, I mean Russia, Turkey, and Iran, which I informed President Trump about. But we do stand ready to link these efforts to the so-called small group of states, so that the process would be a broader one, it would be a multidimensional one, and so that we will be able to maximize our fighting chance to get the ultimate success in the issue of Syria. And speaking about having the ball in our court.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
In Syria. President Trump has just mentioned that we've successfully concluded the World Football Cup. Speaking of the football, actually, Mr. President, I'll give this ball to you, and now the ball is in your court. All the more that the United States will host the World Cup in 2026.
Thank you very much. We do host it, and We hope we do as good a job. That's very nice. That will go to my son Barron. We have no question. In fact, Melania, here you go.
Did he throw that at Melania?
Okay.
The final question from the United States will go to Jonathan Lemire from the AP.
I didn't see it the first time.
What that meant was, here's the thing. That was actually that particular moment. I have to tell you, Vladimir Putin, for all his craziness, okay, he is actually sly and slick and wise.
I'm sorry, you can.
And he is incredibly humble. He has humbled himself in incredible ways, and I give him a lot of respect for this, because in Syria, he was holding a certain line for Bashar al-Assad.
Yeah.
He had his own interests in there, and a lot of that has to do with this gas pipe into Germany. Well, Hillary Clinton was willing, and the deep state wanted to overthrow Syria and destabilize Syria like they did with Libya so badly that they were wanting, and they were happy about the prospects of a possible nuclear war with Russia.
Right.
With Vladimir Putin telling Trump, okay, we're cool, and Syria's kind of calmed down. We're going to bring the people back. We're going to work together on humanitarian aid. What has happened in Syria is a miracle. You guys, it was supposed to be utterly destroyed and brought to complete ruin. I mean, you've seen the video. You've seen the pictures. It was not supposed to carry on as a country.
Continue.
Why? For many reasons. But one that I like to point out is that Syria is the only secular country in the Middle East, and has way more freedoms than everybody else, Israel aside. So here you have Putin telling Trump, we're going to follow your lead in Syria. No, we're not going to go to nuclear war over Syria. And yes, if push comes to shove, we are going to back out. You have seen Israel be hardline against Iran for good reason. Iran has nuclear warheads that say death to Israel. It's a thing. And you have seen, you see these power plays. And what you see with Donald Trump and Putin are two people that are constantly putting out fires.
No, go ahead. Okay, no, pause it.
Wait, it's going to be good.
Okay.
This is
For
where
the next question?
Yeah, this is where it gets
Thank
really
you.
good.
Question for each president. President Trump, you first. Just now, President Putin denied having anything to do with the election interference in 2016. Every U.S. intelligence agency has concluded that Russia did. My first question for you, sir, is who do you believe? My second question is, would you now, with the whole world watching, tell President Putin, would you denounce what happened in 2016, and would you warn him to never do it again?
So let me just say that we have two thoughts. You have groups that are wondering why the FBI never took the server. Haven't they taken the server? Why was the FBI told to leave the office of the Democratic National Committee? I've been wondering that. I've been asking that for months and months, and I've been tweeting it out and calling it out on social media. Where is the server? I want to know, where is the server, and what is the server saying? With that being said, all I can do is ask the question. My people came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be, but I really do want to see the server. But I have confidence in both parties. I really believe that this will probably go on for a while, but I don't think it can go on without finding out what happened to the server. What happened to the servers of the Pakistani gentlemen that worked on the DNC? Where are those servers? They're missing. Where are they? What happened to Hillary Clinton's emails? 33,000 emails gone, just gone. I think in Russia they wouldn't be gone so easily. I think it's a disgrace that we can't get Hillary Clinton's 33,000 emails. So I have great confidence in my intelligence people, but I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today. And what he did is an incredible offer. He offered to have the people working on the case come and work with their investigators with respect to the 12 people. I think that's an incredible offer. Okay, thank you.
I'd like to add something to this. After all, I was an intelligence officer myself. And I do know how dossiers are made up. Just a second.
I do know how a
That's
dossier is made up.
Now the second thing. I believe that Russia is a democratic state, and I hope you're not denying this right to your own country. You're not denying that United States is a democracy. Do you believe United States is a democracy? And if so, if it is a democratic state, then the final conclusion in this kind of a dispute can only be delivered by a trial, by the court, not by the executive, by the law enforcement. For instance, the Concord company that was brought up is being accused. It's been accused of interference. But this company does not constitute the Russian state. It does not represent the Russian state. And I brought several examples before. Well, you have a lot of individuals in the United States, take George Soros, for instance, with multi-billion capitals. But does that make him, his position, his posture, the posture of the United States? No, it does not. Well, it's the same case. There is the issue of trying a case in the court. And the final, the final say is for the court to deliver. We are now talking about the private, the individuals, and not about particular states. And as far as the most recent allegation is concerned about the Russian intelligence officers, we do have an intergovernmental treaty. Please do send us the request. We will analyze it properly and we'll send a formal response. And as I said, we can extend this cooperation, but we should do it on a reciprocal basis, because we would await our Russian counterparts to provide us access to the persons of interest for us, who we believe can have something to do with the intelligence services. Let's discuss the specific issues and not use the Russia and the US relationship as a loose change, for this internal political struggle.
A question for President Putin. Thank you. Two questions for you, sir. Can you tell me what President Trump may have indicated to you about officially recognizing Crimea as part of Russia? And then secondly, sir, does the Russian government have any compromising material on President Trump or his family?
Look at this here.
President Trump and, posture of President Trump on Crimea is well known.
Posture.
And he stands firmly by it. He continued to maintain that it was illegal to annex it. Our viewpoint is different. We held a referendum in strict compliance with the UN Charter and the international legislation. For us, this issue, we put paid to this issue. And now to the compromising material. Yeah, I did hear these rumors that we allegedly collected compromising material on Mr. Trump when he was visiting Moscow. Well, distinguished colleague, let me tell you this. When President Trump visited Moscow back then, I didn't even know that he was in Moscow. I treat President Trump with utmost respect. But back then, when he was a private individual, a businessman, nobody informed me that he was in Moscow. Well, let's take St. Petersburg Economic Forum, for instance. There were over 500 American businessmen, the high-ranking, the high-level ones. I don't even remember the last names of each and every one of them. Well, do you think that we try to collect compromising material on each and every single one of them? Well, it's difficult to imagine another nonsense of a bigger scale than this. Well, please, just disregard these issues. And
Donald Trump was a rich guy, is what he said, and no, we did not collect information on him.
Before you move on, I have a lot of comments that I would like to get to.
Please, go ahead.
All right, so, let's see. Stuart the Brit said, I have been waiting so long for this conference. Hopefully this will be as much as I've hoped for, as I've been hoping for into the future. I think that it will be.
You read some comments. I'm just playing their meeting.
I think that we will see a good unification between Russia and the United States moving forward. Donna Terry says Russia is not our enemy. Let's see. This comment thing is so difficult to scroll through. There is no real threat from Russia. Okay, so Horatio had said, news just in, Juncker is meeting with Trump in Washington this week. There will be plenty of banter. And then I think somebody in the chat had said that he will show up drunk, which is probably true. Let's see. Yeah, ladies, who do you think the deep state are? That's a pretty broad question. They're everywhere. And it's true. They have infiltrated the highest offices all over the world, country, worldwide. It doesn't matter where you live. That's why we are all united here on Resistance Chicks. But to point out a few, there are the CIA and the FBI, all the ones in the top levels there, they are deep state. Patriot Gallery has an answer for this.
Trump's uncle was one of the first deep staters.
Trump's uncle.
Uncle John. He was
Uncle John.
CIA.
He was CIA.
MIT. Area 51. His Uncle John knows everything.
Okay, so
and that was one of the reasons I guess he learned a lot about
understanding the deep state. But we have George Soros. We have the European Union with the high officials there. It's the Fords, the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, their descendants, the Bilderbergs, okay? This is the deep state. These are the people that control and pull the puppet strings all over the world.
I'm going to play this clip that Horatio mentioned.
Okay, but Horatio also says the EU, Ukraine, Russia have met today about a new pipeline. They met in Berlin. Why Berlin and not Brussels?
Interesting.
Good question there.
Joining us, Republican Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. He's a key member of both the Foreign Relations and Homeland Security Committees. Senator, thanks so much for joining us. Let me get right to the question. Do you believe that President Trump's meeting with Putin made America safer?
You know, I think engagement with our adversaries, conversation with our adversaries is a good idea. Even in the height of the Cold War, maybe at the lowest ebb when we were in the midst of the Cuban Missile Crisis, I think it was a good thing that Kennedy had a direct line to Khrushchev. I think it was a good thing that we continued to have ambassadors to Russia, even when we really objected greatly to what was going on, even during Stalin's regime. So I think that it is a good idea to have engagement, and I think that what is lost in this is that I think there's a bit of Trump derangement syndrome. I think there are people who hate the president so much that this could have easily been President Obama early in his first administration setting the reset button and trying to have better relations with Russia. And I think it's lost on people that they are a nuclear power. They have influence in Syria. They're in close proximity to our troops in Syria. They are close to the peninsula of North Korea and may have some influence that could help us there. The other thing that's lost, and people forget this completely, the Russians tried to help us stop the Boston Marathon bombing. We actually did help them stop a terrorist attack in St. Petersburg because we were communicating and exchanging information. All of those things are good, but Senator, because people hate Trump so much, all of that's being lost.
Mic drop from...
Mic drop. I like what Angie says. Russians want to drive German cars, drink French wine, and watch U.S. movies. Why would they want to destroy the countries that they like the most? Very good point. Russians, by and large, do like a lot. When we were there in 1996, is that when we were there? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're Russian agents, just so you know. I think I was 12 or 13 at the time. Definitely a Russian agent here. When we were in Moscow back then, all the Russians loved Americans. We would be walking around. We stood out like a sore thumb because we were in gym shoes and shorts and t-shirts.
They laughed at us.
They did laugh at us.
Now
but
they wear gym shoes and t-shirts and shorts, by the way.
They didn't. Back then, all the women wore shoes and they would put metal on the bottom of their heels because they had to walk everywhere and they would have worn them down if they didn't have metal on the bottom of their shoes. And this was right after the wall fell that we went. because our uncle was there starting Procter & Gamble in Russia. He ended up marrying his interpreter. We went there for the wedding. They live here now in the United States now. But anyway, so we were there, and they would see our cousins, and they would want to buy their baseball hats, and they would, oh, American, and they would love, and they would want to talk to you as best that they could. They loved everything. They wanted movies illegally dubbed. That was back when you had to get a dubbed movie. It was recorded in the movie theater from the screen. And they wanted those. They wanted all things American. So that's a really, really good point there.
So you ready to see the unhinged left?
Not yet. Russia is only our enemy because they are enemies of the globalist crooks that have been ruling the West all too long. And that hits on what you had said
Absolutely. That's
earlier.
So true.
All right, go ahead.
Vladimir Putin was on stage left in Helsinki alongside the President of the United States, who had nothing but warm words for the time that they spent together.
First of all, I just have to say I'm sick to my stomach. I'm really feeling nauseous.
Stunned, gobsmacked.
We're hearing words like, I feel sick, this is frightening, calling it an abomination.
Shocking.
Stunning. Genuinely stunning.
What is going on? Unbelievable.
Astonishing. Just astonishing.
It is astonishing, it's heartbreaking, and it represents, I think, a pivotal turn in our nation's history.
It's time for Americans to be out on the street.
There are people protesting in the streets every day. In the 70s. Why is that not happening now?
When do we see almost a shadow government come out and say, we cannot side with the government?
As an American citizen, I just personally think today is just an incredibly depressing moment in our time.
Who are these people?
On
It
our
was
history as an
excellent.
American. Was this a new low? Jim Shuda, Josh Campbell, appreciate you both being with us on what has been really a difficult day for this country and frankly for much of the free world ahead.
He didn't even meet his own low bar for not screwing this up.
I mean, it is an absolute disgrace. It's a parody of a disgrace.
This entire week of President Trump abroad has made Hillary Clinton seem all the more prescient.
All he had to do was not, put on jammies and crawl under the covers with Vladimir Putin, and he couldn't do that.
The White House officials realize how horrifying so many Americans are today.
Mr. Putin now is the master puppeteer of Donald Trump.
If Vladimir Putin picked our president, does anything else matter?
If Vladimir Putin picked our president, does anything else matter? You know what? Hillary Clinton and her messing over the entire country of Haiti, that doesn't matter. None of these massive big world issues matter so long as Vladimir Putin had a preference between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. It's 50-50 question. Do I want... That's more Jamaican. I was really going for Russian there. Do I want Hillary Clinton or do I want Donald Trump? It's 50-50. It doesn't matter. The fact that these people are losing their minds is hilarious.
So Representative Steve Cohen, Democrat from Tennessee, appeared to call for a military coup. He said, "Where are our military folks? The commander-in-chief is in the hands of our enemy."
Okay.
That's a coup. He just called for them to take Trump out.
He totally did.
Like are we Venezuela? Are we some sort of South American banana republic?
Right. But I want you guys to recognize something really exciting here. The fact that the talking points for these people are all the same. Somebody just told them, like actors, to go out and make a big stink and a big scene. But they are sick at their stomach. Do you know why they're sick at their stomach? Because their plan is failing and they're melting. That's why they are sick at their stomach. Any person with half a brain, just like Rand Paul said, if he is our enemy, the lady said all he had to do was not put on his pajamas and crawl under the covers with Vladimir Putin and not mess this thing up. When you have somebody that, if you really think that they're a threat, what else would you want your ambassador, which is our president in this instance, to do when meeting with that person? Would you want them to come into a meeting with them and walk away and everything is up in arms? There was a big ruckus. Would you rather he just have zero communications with the enemy, if Russia is our enemy, which they are not, but let's for argument's sake, say that they are. You want them to go into
China
this.
Our ally? Is Saudi
I
Arabia
thought
our
that
ally?
the success of a meeting with your enemy is usually measured by it being peaceful and bringing the hottest topics to the table and discussing them. I thought that's how we measured success of meetings with our enemies. And apparently that's not how these people measure success, because if that's how you measure success, man, he knocked it out of the park.
He did. Home run, baby. 4 men on base. John Brennan, I told you this before, I'm going to reiterate this, ex-CIA director. He's now like working for CNN. Who's the deep state? John Brennan.
Yes.
Working behind the Trump to undermine our republic. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump's press conference performance in Helsinki rises and exceeds the threshold of high crimes and misdemeanors. It was nothing short of treasonous. Not only were Trump's comments imbecilic, he is wholly in the pocket of Putin. Republican patriots, where are you? Now, what he is calling for is the never Trumpers. Mm-hmm. And what is absolutely hilarious about this is Rand Paul tweets it out. This is what's happening, you guys. We are literally living in the time of uncovering the deep state. You want to know who they are? We want to know who they are. And what is happening is they are being flushed out so we can identify who they are. Right. Okay? James Comey, we didn't know he was deep state. We didn't know Peter Strzok. We didn't know he was deep state. We didn't know Lisa Page was deep state. We didn't know Andrew McCabe was deep state. We didn't know. We just knew it existed. We knew that the things that were happening in this world weren't right. But we didn't know who was doing it. And that was the thing that was happening. Like, we get all this stuff from Bill Burnett, right? He was trying to uncover the deep state in the 1970s, but it's very difficult when you don't have them waving the flag saying, I'm your deep state. I'm controlling your government behind the walls. Right? And why have they come out?
The deep state behind the doors.
Right. Why have they come out of hiding? Because they need to brainwash get the people that they brainwash through public schools, as many of them as they can, to hit that button on the back of their brain. You are divergent, okay? You are, if you're watching us now, you are the resistance. Okay, that's where we got it from, Alex Jones. You are divergent, meaning that even though you went through, most of you, the public school brainwashing, it doesn't always work. It's not a perfect formula.
Right.
You can be red-pilled. You can come out of the matrix. However, many can not. That programming that you get through the public schools is not designed to teach you reading, writing, and arithmetic. Rockefeller, Carnegie, if you go back in history, they literally rewrote the history. They put you in prisons to keep you in prisons, to keep you to keep you controlled, so that in moments like these, they can press the button and they can activate. They can get 100,000 people dressed up in drag queens marching against Donald Trump in London. They can get people out marching against Trump wherever they need to. They just hit this button and they put all the information out through the newspapers and through the media, and they tell you, oh, look, babies are being separated from their parents. Go march against Trump. So you have the idiots, these imbeciles who are totally brainwashed in front of ICE buildings with their lattes saying shut down ICE, even though ICE is shutting down sex traffickers.
You know, I'm totally against babies being taken away from their parents. I'm against them being ripped out of their mother's body limb by limb. I'm against their brains being sucked out before they're ripped out of their mother's body, and I'm against them being ripped away from their mother's arms to be taken to a public school indoctrination center where they are taught to be mindless drones and then be activated. I am absolutely against children being ripped from their parents' arms or bodies.
This coming from a guy who literally voted for the Communist Party candidate in 1976. How in the world? You want to know, how did the deep state come about? Because a guy who literally voted for the Communist Party became the head of the CIA. How is that a thing? That should be like one of those like automatic disqualifiers. When they go through your past, they say, have you ever voted for a communist candidate? You know what? No, you don't get to be director of the CIA. But somehow he did, because our deep state government is still run by these communist mindseted people, and the reason they're angry is Russia is they ain't communist anymore, baby. Okay, they're cool with Saudi Arabia, they're cool with China because they're communists, and that's how this.
But that really cracks me up. You hit a really good point. During the questioning, where, you know, we get it, you can't join the military if you have, you know, if you're missing an appendage or something like that.
You have
the director of
earwax
CIA,
in your ear.
yeah, if you had a hangnail last week, can't be director. But if you're, you know, if you have communist leanings and you actually are a communist, you're fine. You totally can be director of the CIA. Not really. They put you through rigorous psychoanalyzing tests in order to become director of the CIA. And yet somehow this guy made it through. Do you think maybe it was on purpose?
I would like for you to read. We're going to Australia, mate. Australia's Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has come out in full support of U.S. President Donald Trump and his meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. And I would like for you to read what he has to say.
Of course not. Donald Trump is a patriot. He's an American patriot, and his job is representing his country, and he's doing that to the best of his ability. Just like I represent my country, Australia, to the best of my ability. I think he's doing exactly what he has said he's seeking to do. He believes it's better to talk to people, to engage with them, and again, this obviously has been highly controversial in America, and I don't run a commentary on Australian politics, let alone American politics.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so this pretty much wraps up our show for today. We have some stuff we got to get going and doing. Mueller's politicized indictment of 12 Russian intelligence officers. Just to give you an idea of what's happening with these 12 dudes. If the idea was to give Vladimir Putin and his thug regime a new way to sabotage the United States, nice work. So is Russia now presumed innocent of hacking the 2016 election? If not, it is difficult to understand why any proper purpose served by Special Counsel Robert Mueller's indictment of 12 military officers in the Kremlin intelligence services for doing what everybody in America already knew that they did and has known since before Donald Trump took office, indeed, since before the 2016 election. Make no mistakes. And then he says this is a nakedly politicized law enforcement. There's absolutely no chance any of the Russian officials charged will ever see the inside of an American courtroom. The indictment is a strictly political document by which the special counsel seeks to justify the existence of his superfluous investigation. Oh, and by the way, the answer to the question posed above is yes, it is now the official position of the United States that Russia gets our Constitution's benefit of the doubt. Here is Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein announcing that the Friday 13th indictment is in our justice system. Everyone who is charged with a crime is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Of course, the indicted Russians are never going to be proven guilty, not in the courthouse sense Rosenstein was invoking. As is so often the case in today's politicized Justice Department, Rosenstein was trying to make a different political point. As he went on to note, if people whom we have formally charged are presumed innocent, then the people who have not been accused implicitly, Rosenstein was talking about President Trump, must also be presumed innocent. But you see, you can't make that point without stepping out on the political purpose of Friday's charade. We have taken the not only pointless but reckless step of indicting operatives of a hostile foreign power who cannot be prosecuted and whose schemes could easily have been exposed and in fact have been exposed multiple times in public government reports. So now due process rules oblige us to caution you that we must presume that the Russians did not do what we have formally accused them of doing. They are entitled to that presumption unless and until we convict them in court, which is never going to happen. Rosenstein made another remark at his big press conference. The Justice Department, he explained, will now transition responsibility for this case to our department's National Security Division while we await the apprehension of the defendants. Now, stop giggling over the last part. The bit where we are told to breathe until Russian dictator Vladimir Putin extradites his spies into the U.S. into the FBI's awaiting arms. I'm talking about the first part, Mueller's case. The definitive case about what Russia did to interfere in the 2016 election is no longer Mueller's case. It's being transitioned, i.e. buried, in the Justice Department unit that deals with the counterintelligence matters that do not result in public trials. This underscores what we have been arguing since before Mueller was appointed. There was no need and no basis in federal regulations for a special counsel. A special counsel is supposed to be appointed only when there are a concrete factual basis to believe federally prosecutable crimes have been committed, calling for a criminal investigation, and a conflict of interest that prevents the Justice Department from conducting the criminal investigation. As we've observed countless times, there was no basis for a criminal investigation of President Trump or the Trump campaign. The fact that Russia interfered in an American election, as it routinely does, never meant that the perceived beneficiary of the interference was criminally complicit in it. There is no known evidence that Trump campaign officials had any involvement in hacking by the Russian intelligence services. Mueller's new indictment powerfully suggests that this could not have happened. The Russians were expert in their cyber espionage tactics. They did not need anyone's help, and they took plans to conceal their identity from everyone with whom they dealt. Moreover, even though Trump's campaign officials have been charged with other crimes having nothing to do with the 2016 election, some of those Trump officials had, quote, contacts with Russians. Mueller has never charged one of them with a crime related to Russia's espionage attack on the election, nor has he ever elicited from any defendant who pled guilty an admission of any such crime. The only known allegations of such crimes were contained in the unverified Clinton campaign-sponsored Steele dossier and the Trump campaign figures implicit in it have either not been charged, Carter Page, Michael Cohen, or not been charged with a collusion crime, Paul Manafort. Thus, the worst aspects of Mueller's new indictment is its continuation of the Justice Department's politicized perversion of its critical counterintelligence mission. Lacking the requisite basis to conduct a criminal investigation, the Justice Department used its counterintelligence mission as a pretext for appointing a special counsel. This was grossly improper. Counterintelligence work, which is geared at thwarting the operations of hostile foreign powers, is not the prosecutor work of building criminal cases. Not surprisingly, then, there is no authority in the regulations to assign a special counsel to a counterintelligence investigation. Because counterintelligence authorities do not afford Americans the due process protections required in criminal investigations, the Justice Department is not permitted to use counterintelligence as a pretext for conducting what is actually an effort to build a criminal prosecution. Now Mueller has taken the next logical wayward step. He has woven an indictment that can never be tried out of counterintelligence work against foreign governments that is not supposed to be the subject of criminal prosecution, i.e. the subject of public courtroom testing under due process rules, which is what Vladimir Putin said, put up or shut up. This is not the way counterintelligence is supposed to work, okay? There never was a conflict of interest. There never was. Russia's interference in the 2016 election was never something that the Justice Department was unable to investigate in any normal course. In fact, for months, the Trump Justice Department was investigating it in the normal course, just as the Obama department did. The only point of the new indictment is to justify Rosenstein's decision and Mueller's existence. Proponents of the unnecessary special counsel want to say, see, we really needed this investigation. But that can be said with a straight face only if the goalposts are moved. To be clear, we did need an FBI counterintelligence investigation, obviously, of anybody doing anything. But here's the thing. Russia, in my opinion, didn't interfere in our election. They had RT, okay? They put out stuff. They put out memes. This is what
but when did
everybody
that become
does.
Illegal?
Right, exactly.
Why is this an illegal thing
Obama,
for a country to come out in support of or against a candidate in another country?
What if Vladimir Putin had come to America and campaigned and said, Americans, if you vote for Donald Trump, there will be consequences to your actions.
You know what?
That will be negative against your life.
I'm guessing that you're actually quoting. You're quoting Barack Obama
going to the EU, telling
UK.
Britain,
it was the UK that he went
telling
to.
Britain in the UK.
Yep.
Literally admonishing them that if they didn't vote against Brexit, then it would be hard for them and life would be bad for them.
Right.
And they were handing out Hillary Clinton mints in their schools.
Right.
So isn't that like interference? There's so much interference. Barack Obama going in to interfere with Brexit should put him in jail under this particular
Now, I don't know if you were
going
to finish that article, but we do need to wrap up some things. And I have some other things I want to get to first before we sign off here. Speaking of the UK, there's a lot going on in the UK right now. Parliament is discussing the white paper and amendments, and we're going to see how that unfolds. Now, Horatio had in the chat, he said, UK Parliament just voted down a Labour amendment to the trade bill, which would have meant it would have been a negotiating aim to stay part of the customs union. The vote was 307 to 301. That's really exciting.
What does that mean?
What it means is Labor put forth an amendment that would give, I just lost there it is, that would give them a kind of an arm, a negotiating arm in the white paper, is what I would call it, on the trading bill, to stay part of the customs union, which I'm not even a Brit, we want to pull out of, right? And it was this close. We are talking 6 votes different. This is a huge thing, right? So they're looking at the white paper. They're going to add amendments to the white paper. One amendment that was added, let me pull it up here. Oh, I thought that I had it. Wait a minute. It's here. It is here because I literally just had it. Wait a minute. Nope. There it is. All right. Yesterday, again, really close, 305 to 302, huge, to approve the new Clause 36 of the cross-border tax bill. Now, it was actually put forth by a guy named Pariti Patel, but Rees-Mogg is on it, and he's taking the flak for it. This clause prevents the UK government from collecting taxes on behalf of another territory or country unless this were done on a reciprocal basis, meaning they cannot tax you people in the UK, this is huge, for the EU. They can't tax you and send money to Brussels for the European Union. That's absolutely amazing. So we have those two things. But lastly, I want to read to you guys very briefly an article that Horatio sent me. I don't actually know how to say this. I always say Guido Fox. It could be Guido. Is it Guido? Probably Guido. All right. Remainers threaten number 10 into backing soft Brexit, then reneged. And I'm going to switch this over so you guys can see the article as well here. All right. Remainer Tory MPs agreed to a deal to support Theresa May if she pursued continued economic alignment with the EU, only to renege on it today with an amendment attempting to keep us in the customs union. Guido can reveal that on the 1st of July, key Remainer Stephen Hammond emailed his Conservative Group for Europe of hardcore Remain MPs outlining the terms of a coordinated threat to number 10. The Remainers agreed that if the cabinet backed a soft Brexit with continued economic alignment plus a backstop agreement, they would not put down rebel amendments to the Trade and Customs Bill. Number 10 and the cabinet went through a lot of pain to agree to the Remainers' demands, yet today Remain rebels are reneging on the deal and attempting to defeat the government with their customs union amendment. And then it goes on to put that forward. It says number 10 caved into all these demands from their ultra Remainer rebels pursuing a soft Brexit to get them on side. Even with the ERG amendments yesterday, the government is still heading towards the softest of Brexit and continued economic alignment, and still the Remainers are breaking their promise and trying to keep us even closer to the EU. Shows the dishonesty of the Remainers claiming that the ERG is controlling the government when it is they who have been coordinating threats to force number 10 into a non-Brexit. Okay. So
what does that mean?
There's a lot going on there. It means that they pretty much told Theresa May, listen, if you go soft on this whole Brexit thing, then we won't put forth any kind of bill or any amendment. We'll just let it kind of skate on through. And then they didn't. And now they're putting forth amendments that might make it so that the bill can't skate on through. So I think that that's pretty cool. I'm excited about that. Prithvi Patel is a very pretty lady. Okay, I don't know who this person is. Thank you for that, Horatio. I don't know. I'm
Somebody
really
says I love Preeti.
Preeti.
She got me on the side to questioning voting.
Oh, Remain. I get it. She's Preeti. That's how it's pronounced. Preeti. Thank you. That was helpful. I missed that. And then it sunk in.
She's an Indian MP.
Okay, very good. So she puts it forward. And it goes through, which is really, really exciting. Now, Horatio can correct me on my interpretation of that article. I hope I got it right. But seriously, there's some shakeups going on. When I was talking to Horatio about this yesterday, he literally said, I don't know which way it's going to go. And I said back to him, this is really interesting when he always calls it first. He knows what's going to happen, or he has a general idea of what's going to happen.
That's her. Hang on.
And he doesn't know. So we're on the edge of our seats here.
Premise about withdrawing from the European Union.
She is very pretty.
We also have to remember that the white paper is our opening position in the negotiations, and could also be diluted down as we progress the negotiations with the European Union. And quite frankly, their track record demonstrates that as well.
But if you haven't got the numbers, if you haven't got the numbers to back your amendment, this is basically a way of sort of waving your flags at Theresa May and firing a warning shot to
I think it's important to have the debate and the discussion and have the arguments actually and put the case forward. We are asking for change. Let's not, we're not going to ignore that point. We are asking for change.
And if she doesn't change her mind,
of course, we have been critical of the white paper. The white paper, has many other flaws in there as well around our independence, our ability to undertake free trade agreements. We'll have to see what happens, but I think it is important that we have this debate, and this is a a debate not just within the parliamentary party, it's a debate across the country. The British public voted to leave, and of course our Prime Minister and the Conservative Party stood on a manifesto last year that was very clear about the way in which we were going to leave the European Union, and quite frankly we are not in that space anymore. Things have changed, and the prospectus that has been put forward since the Chequers Agreement and the White Paper is very different to the Mansion House speech and all the other speeches that have been given by the Prime Minister and by members of the government.
Okay,
so when I refer to, or I didn't refer to, but when the article referred to the ERG, that's the European Reform Group, and Jacob Rees-Mogg is the head of that. So I had to ask Horatio about that yesterday when it came
Although
up.
you have one vision of Brexit, others have a different vision of Brexit. Ultimately, doesn't that have to be a compromise? And that is what the Prime Minister is trying to do.
So, of course, in any negotiation, anybody that has worked on any negotiation, and obviously there are many people, including myself, that have internationally, yes, we need to compromise and make the relevant changes. This isn't now a case about having many visions of Brexit. We've done that. You know, we've had that discussion. The referendum was one stage. The election last year was another stage. We've had several speeches ranging from Lancaster House to Mansion House as well. The Prime Minister herself has outlined the case for Brexit and the vision for Brexit. We are effectively, and certainly through the amendments that I will be speaking to today, reminding the government of exactly what that vision was that the very government has put forward when it comes to delivering a vision for Brexit for Britain.
Do you think the government would accept your amendment?
Well, look, we're going to have the debate, and I don't want to speculate at all in terms of whether or not they're going to accept. We are doing the right thing. We're scrutinising legislation, and we're putting forward some very key points about parity. One of the clauses that I'll be moving today is that we don't want to become a tax collector for the European Union. Why should we? We want an equal relationship, not a relationship where, you know, we are doing something for them and getting nothing back.
She put that forward and it passed, and that's really exciting.
Okay, I want to show you one more thing. Now, this will turn your stomach, and I hate to leave you on a stomach churning thing, but Obama is in Africa. He landed and he says, "I'm home." You grew up in Hawaii. You lived in Thailand for a little while.
Really?
Your dad's some sort of polygamous commie, weird guy, but you're home? Weird. But listen to this communist here.
Market-based system. One that offers education for every
He says
child.
he's too rich, and it's...
That protects collective bargaining and secures the rights of every worker. That breaks up monopolies to encourage competition in small and medium-sized businesses, and has laws that root out corruption and ensures fair dealing in business. That maintains some form of progressive taxation.
What's that smile on his face?
Rich people are still rich, but they're given a little bit back to make sure that everybody else has something to pay for universal health care and retirement security, and invests in infrastructure and scientific research that builds platforms for innovation. I should add, by the way, right now I'm actually surprised by how much money I got. And let me tell you something. I don't have half as much as most of these folks, or a tenth or 100th. There's only so much you can eat. There's only so big a house you can have. There's only so many nice trips you can take.
Call me, baby. Rich, elitist commie.
I mean, it's enough.
I got something for you, Barack, baby. It's called Right Check to Somebody Else. It's what we Christians been doing since we've been Christians, okay? For the past 2,000 years since Jesus came, we've been feeding the poor. We've been clothing the naked. We have been feeding the hungry. We have been giving medical care. Why is it that all the hospitals around here be called Bethesda?
Jewish.
Christ. They're all were based on like
Anderson Mercy.
You go in there, and it's this big giant Christian cross where all these hospitals were started by Christians meant to heal people, because guess what? You can't legislate charity, and when you do, it's called communism. And here we have a commie standing up there saying, I'm too rich. I wish governments would take more of my money, but because the government won't take my money, I guess I need to buy me a bigger house. Until the government takes my money, I guess I need to buy better clothes. Until the government takes my money, I guess I just got to spend it because the government ain't taking it from me. Honey, Barack Hussein Obama, you could be poor. You could live poor. You could live like a monk.
Yeah.
Many a Christian in time past who has come to know Jesus as a rich man. Jesus told the rich man.
Rich young ruler.
He said, you know what you need to do?
Because he came to him and he said, what can I do?
You're doing all the things.
I've kept all the laws.
You are keeping all the 10 commandments. You love God. There's one thing you lack. Go sell all you have and give to the poor and follow me. Jesus wasn't saying you need to be poor. He wasn't saying you need to give all yourself away. But what he was saying is it can't be part of you and part of who you are. Okay? Right. Now, Christianity's always been about giving to the poor. Christians give more. It is well documented than atheists.
Yes.
Christians give more to charity.
Because they rely, not Christians, but atheists, and not just atheists, but I would say middle of the road, kind of stagnant Christians. They rely on the government. The government does my charity for me. I give them my money. That's not charity. They just stole from you.
It's the whole Ebenezer Scrooge thing, right? Mm-hmm. Are there no workhouses? Right. Okay, so Barack Obama, I got a plan for you. Yes. Okay? Go give all your money away. If you see somebody who needs some health care, go do it. And you know what? You will feel good about yourself. Yeah. Okay? You see some poor kid, you could fund these children. Give them cars, buy people houses, take you down to nothing, but you don't want to. You are laughing about it in some sort of sick and twisted way. The government ain't there, baby, to be taking your fake dollars and redistributing them. They're fake anyways. You wouldn't have no money if there wasn't for the Federal Reserve. We'd be on a gold standard. We'd have to buy and sell and trade with gold. So all this fake dollars, okay? So I just thought I would bring that to you.
Okay, that's really fun.
And then I'm done.
Patricia on Facebook says that we are much more informative than Rush today. Thank you for that. But I don't think you're wrong. However, there are a lot of things that we have not covered today that are worth covering. What is, you hinted on it in the beginning, what's happening to Alex Jones. They are literally trying to shut him off of the internet.
Yeah.
Like altogether. And we are behind that. So regardless of how you feel about Alex Jones, if they get him off of Facebook and they get him off of YouTube, we're done. Earlier you were talking about Mike Adams, and I wanted to put this in there and I didn't get a chance because you were hot on fire today, is that Mike Adams is developing an alternate to YouTube, and I am praying that it will take off, because the only reason why YouTube is huge is because of the people that are speaking truth. And I am hoping that everybody that is speaking truth, this will not be another failed BitChute, what are some of the other ones that failed? You all know what they are. YouTube alternative. I am hoping that it will catch fire, take over, and that's where people will start going for their alternative media.
The tricky part is that YouTube, because it was so vast, and you could be watching some kid play basketball and they would bring up another video and then bring up another video, and suddenly you're watching Dante's Inferno.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Patriot Gallery.
When they attack Mike
Adams
and Alex Jones more, because they have their own products. They have their own commercials.
Right.
And so they can provide for themselves
right.
greatly.
They don't need YouTube, and that's why they go after them. Yeah, so actually, speaking of that, I do have something up that I know we really do need to go. We have pet visits to do. But I did pull this up, and I just wanted you guys to have an idea, because I don't want you to think that I'm some sort of liar or whatever. So I just randomly chose a complete random spot in our video section on this is our YouTube channel right here. I went back, I don't know how many, whatever. These are from November of last year.
I'm going to get sick.
All right, so I want you to see our current views are between the 300 and 800 range right now. That's how many views we get on this channel. Now, we still have Resistance Chicks channel that gets some views as well. And Facebook, like when we went live with Horatio the other day, Facebook had, 1,1300 views on that video. So that is a big deal. But so here we are. We have on the latest on the Sutherland Springs shooter, we're at 25,000. This again on the shooting at the Texas church, 2,800. Here we are in 1800, 1100, 2100, 1300, 2600, 900, 900, 800, 1100, 1400, 1400, 2000, 2500, 75,000, 1,000, 3,400, 2,300. I mean, I could go on for the amount of views that we were getting on 1,900, 3,400, 26,000, 1,100, 1,500, 1,100, 1,300, 1,100. It just, we were, for a long period of time, our videos were getting, and that's just on our Mass Faith 3 channel. I didn't even show you. You guys know we always double up our videos. We stream it on Mass Faith 3, and then we upload it to Resistance Chicks. So our videos were getting a lot of views, and we were put into that carousel where if there was a hot topic, it could get the 25,000 views. It could get the 75,000 views. Our Charlottesville video has like 160,000 views. They actually cut that off.
Within 3 days.
Within 3 days.
We probably would have been up with 1 million views by now.
Absolutely.
We would have been a 1 million view channel on a video.
When we talk about censorship, it is a very real threat. We are a tiny, tiny, tiny fish in a huge pond of alternative media. This is happening to every single voice out there. They are trying to shut it down, but the beauty in it all is that the message is still getting out there. People are waking up. and I know this may sound silly to you guys, but I was at a doctor's visit with my uncle yesterday, and there's a show called The Chew. They had this on in the waiting room, and the guy on it is the guy from Clinton from What Not to Wear. Way back when we used to watch television, we would watch that show. And it's kind of a cooking show, but it's kind of like a talk show. And they made bone broth on the show. But that in and of itself is fine. It's a cooking show. But they talked about how we take all of these vitamins and we take all these medications when we could just be making our own bone broth at home, and that it would heal our gut. Okay, these are things that you guys need to know about. If you aren't following Dr. Axe, you need to be for health information. These are things that the left wants to shut down. Do you want to know why? Because Big Ag, that's the dairy, that's the corn, that's all that stuff, the FDA, and Big Pharma, those are all your drug companies, control our government here in the United States. And if word gets out that you can take a cancer spot on your face off with apple cider vinegar, or you can telephone there, or you can heal your leaky gut or your IBS with the collagen and nutrients that come from bone broth, then you're not going to need Big Pharma. You're not going to need to be hooked to their drug tube, okay? So people are waking up, and it is really exciting to see. The truth is getting out there. So I want you guys to, after having watched our episode today, be excited that we're winning.
Comment, share, find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter. We have a P.O. Box 107, Milford, Ohio 45150. Thank you for being here. You diehard people. All kind of good comments. We got during the day. We had so many. We got our UK people here. We had a ratio and picture little cheek. We had Worth a Look here sending me links. I love
Britt
Baza.
St. Mark the Evangelist, his new channel. You guys go check that out.
So we're so happy to have all of you here. Again, happy birthday, Maia, because we didn't go live yesterday. So,
but Chris and Kelly did on Chris Holman's channel. You can go watch that.
We will definitely be back on Friday. We probably won't be back until Friday, because we got to butcher some chickens and castrate some pigs and do a lot of things. So it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll see you Friday at 6.
Yes.
Just to let you know, things might happen. We might be able to do a live stream on something crazy. But other than that,
flower.
We got this
so
is
great.
#RealFlower.
#real flower. #fake flower. All right, we love you guys. God bless, and we'll see you back later.
You are the resistance.
Was